Greetings. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you today. I think Kit Maxwell and the Corning Museum of Glass. The pandemic has meant that so many of us have not been able to get together with our friends, other scholars, other learners to talk about something we're so passionate about. So I hope this will prompt some good online conversation. I also wanted to thank Kit for some wonderful photographs he's provided with me. And just as a quick note, that unless otherwise indicated, all the photos of glass are from the Corning Museum. So to begin, The Diamond Pen and the Farthing Candle was a clever poem published in the Philadelphia Gazette in 1766. It's a fable of vanity and social politics for its actants, pen and candle, with the dualistic nature of reflection as its foil. In this dialogue, pen and candle with the dualistic nature of reflection as its foil. And pen is a saucy, proud diamond brooch that sneered at, insulted the stinking tallow candle accidentally left behind by the cleaning woman. But alas, when the flame is finally extinguished, Miss Pen was lost. She could search for her departed radiance, as sadly, quote, each sparkle swallowed in the depth of shade, close quote. The tables were turned, and the lily candle could now gloat. I fear, quote Pen, I must mistake my nature. True, answered Candle, my dear Miss Pen, lift not in future quite so high your chin. It shows some reverence for your blaze creator. Now the blaze creator of the candle thus mocked a diamond pen standing dark at a lady's toilet, a lady's dressing table, perhaps with a mirror, the most reflective surface in a woman's bedroom. So then we have a parallel public scene published in 1766, the foil stone and the diamond bantered and jostled about superiority, and a shop window lit for the evening. Within a tournament shop at night, resplendent by the taper's light, a foil stone hung to make a show, as glittering things attractive view. Okay, so it says shoe, attractive view. It's the foil stone who's now boasting of his greatness. Now in this joust, the diamond was the winner. The paste stone's glow was fabricated by man, and like her own deep birth of the mind's treasured, she was by nature formed, and his present superficial glow was all due to a taper candle. But such squabbling aside, the function of both of these baubles are about the same, to serve as part of a glittering tableau of candle and glass to attract customers to the windows. These cranky objects are part of my book project that analyzes how light was created, augmented, experienced, and ultimately transformed in America in the 2 centuries before electricity. 2 core themes are the marvels and problems of lighting, gleam and shimmer in early domestic interiors, and how banishing the night through artificial illumination changed everyday life. Together, lives and things and their relationships and experiences were changed forever. Today, I will focus on cultural discourse about the greater availability and use of artificial lighting and a few trickster objects to tell a tale. The opening scene where pen and candle squabble over their importance comes from a kind of literature, a genre of literature known as narratives. Flourishing in the 18th century, in this kind of writing, objects became narrators of action, often telling tales where things act as human players. So because objects like circulating in this wider market, they could stand in for larger systems and processes without having to have like a particular kind of person in a standard fictional setting. So the protagonists of this narrative, the jewel, the candle, the mirror, the action is a acerbic verbal battle told through the common storytelling of a fable. It addresses the discomfort with new luxury goods and the embedded concept of social status and class in the 18th century. It's embedded in the increasing use of artificial lighting and newer expectations of nighttime sociability. and each has a relationship to the physical properties of glass and light. I just want to pause and say that this is actually a photograph that I took some time ago at the V&A, Victoria and Albert, which was showing the old way, partially that the glass room was shown. I'll begin with this painting by Godfrey Schlacken in 1670, because I think it captures the essence of artificial lighting in mid-darkness, especially among the less affluent, and especially as seen here with servants. Again, the diamond and the tallow candle. The wealthy and the beautiful diamond turns to the candle in disdain. "You nasty thing," exclaimed Miss Penn. "Please keep your distance. Don't fly here and wink. I loathe ye, you and all your greasy kin. Good heavens, how horrible you look and stink." The Miss Penn's disgust was shared by many of the more well-to-do in the 18th century. A candle made of tallow was one of the cheapest and most objectionable forms of lighting. Tallow was the cheapest fuel available, and it's animal fat, some of the most readily available. Most commonly, it was a commercial byproduct of slaughterhouses using fatty reserves between skin and meat, and most often from beef and sheep, but hogs, even deer and bear could be used. Home production of fats for candles was also possible. A family might slaughter livestock for home use and have ample available fat, but even common cooking fat, particularly if it was well cleaned, could be used. Complaints abounded about all kinds of grease from animals. Mutton suet gave an especially bad odor. Dipped candles made at home too often mixed oil or grease. But no matter the source of fat and the method of their making, tallow smelled and could smell quite badly. Unfortunately, too, all the properties that make tallow loathsome to humans made them attractive to rodents and animals. A woman in 1828 reported even her rendered tallow, no doubt prepared for making candles on her plantation, needed to be protected in kitchen pots because the cats eat it so much. I did just have to put this in honor of our cat story, but also it has the mirrors and the lighting, so it's the whole trifecta. And this is George Cruikshank from the Yale section. The qualities of the uses of tallow candles were no better. They burned unevenly or out. Snuffing candles, which is removing the blanket bits of wick that did not self-extinguish, was the art of taking away unbitted bits and leaving the flame ignited. The traditional tallow candle needed to be snuffed much more often, and recommendation ranged from every 10 minutes to half an hour. Emitting smoke made the home dirty or sooty. They smoked and sputtered and took extra labor to keep clean. Tallow candles cost only about half as much as their wax counterparts, but were very poor producers of light. They were no bargain. Most importantly, using tallow candles were cheap, inferior products that signaled wealth and social standing. Miss Penn could loathe dirty, smelly common people as easily as dirty, smelly tallow candles. The poverty-stricken and the powerless often had no artificial lighting at all, first off. But using low-cost natural products like the rush is, like tallow, difficult to burn and has a short burning time. The hand-colored print, the Rushlight from 1797 in the John Johnson collection at the Bodleian Library, shows a group of servants in their nightclothes, one with partially exposed breasts for attention, huffing and puffing to blow out a rushlight in a basin. Its caption phrasing also notes that the family could not blow it out either. And perhaps you can help me figure it out, this image out, because I'm a little puzzled. But what interests me here is the connection of the inexpensive lighting to servants, and that just like the candle, its cost was summed as a little farthing, which is a kind of a poetic small poem's worth. Candles made of wax continued to improve in the late 18th century with different sources and procedures aimed by the creation of a burning wick. Materials from plants and animals were processed for fuel around the world. Such sources of fuel were increasingly contained in something else. So by the end of the 18th century, fuels for lighting were often found and transformed in glass lamps. Just like new scientific instruments, The glass parts of lamps could pressurize, mobilize gas and heat, protect from flame, or serve as a reservoir for fuel. Like brass metals, such as brass silver and silver plate, crystal or cut glass could increase and refract light. Paradoxically, it could also shade bright lights from the eye, and finely painted surfaces could add a colored hue to adorn or to protect eyes from the viewer. As Hannah Grigg has so brilliantly detailed in Georgian England, diamonds were important in the performance of the beau monde. And I'm talking now again about the diamond pen and the foil stone. And both are expensive items that contested and sparkled with other items. After the mines of Brazil opened around 1760, the price of diamonds dropped so they could become even more fashionable. Through my book project, I continue to find new words to think about these early modern commodity forms of reflective surfaces like lux, spangle, tinsel, or in the case of some forms of metals and jewels and glass, brilliance or diamond steel. Such words were specific to early modern forms of commodities. They were, in essence, the material forms of startling visual effects. So we take the etymology of one word, and that might give us some more insight. The word brilliant, for one, exploded between 1650 and 1700 when diamonds became fashionable as jewelry. A brilliant could be an object, i.e. the stone itself, or a cut of a diamond, like a brilliant cut or a rose cut. The word brilliant has long been used to suggest a person who is distinguished, celebrated, often in intellectual capacities attaching the qualities of heightened light or shine with humans. So too, these effects can hold moral judgment. A person who wore flashy clothes that are inappropriate to their station or style or form, that is a showy person. It could be a person whose very effect is like a faceted diamond or flashy stone. Hence, they are showy or distinguished, celebrated. And its modern use, of course, in Great Britain calls upon something fantastic or especially well done. It's brilliant. Each of these definitions tie back to the sought-after effect of light and material, but also shifting notions of how to achieve it and the transferring of superiority from object to person. Such testimony to the potential to flash lie in the crystalline structure of brilliance. It is not the diamond that is recorded, but its effects. Alice Hooper, painted by John Singleton Copley in 1763 to celebrate her engagement, was the daughter of Robert King Hooper, one of the wealthiest men in eastern Massachusetts. Commissioned for her engagement, this portrait depicts a 17-year-old girl who can easily stand in for her father's wealth. Her stunning black silk gown was paired with a cascade of white silver. She extends her hand into a gentle stream pouring from a marble fountain, and she stands before a lush garden and the fountain, both to testify to her fecundity. Hooper stands with her head turned slightly toward her outstretched hand. More significantly in view here is her jewelry. A magnificent ruby and diamond pendant necklace and matching earrings of a central ruby surrounded with diamonds. While many other colonial Americans painted by Copley had great wealth, this stands as one of the few that included such a splendid array of beautifully crafted and fashionable jewelry. By the last quarter of the 18th century, the development of improved lead glass helped to make a better facsimile. So we have glass stones that could be cut and mounted in a setting backed by metallic or non-metallic sheet to improve its optical performance. The foil acts as both a reflector as well as a coloring agent. Such paste jewelry was originally highly prized for its workmanship and faceted and might be mounted with rubies and other gems. They are not imagined only as fake diamonds, like we might think of rhinestones today, but something highly prized in their own right. There are many other less expensive ways to approximate red jewels and diamonds with red and clear stones. For example, when visiting a Virginia general store in 1775, a customer could choose a necklace and earrings of mock garnet a necklace of white wax with garnet, or those labeled simply garnet stones. They could also go home with a strand of red and white beads. While none of them could approximate the brilliancy of diamonds or fool stones, they do simply allude to the wish to allude to other materials or mimic finer things. The fool stone in our fable bragged how no colored gem could be better than his kind. Quite okay. What jewel can with me compare? Garnet red, the sapphire blue, or others of whatever hue? Some folks may think extremely fine, ? Yet poor their charms compared to mine. What are those lights that shine on high, the glittering fool stones of the sky? We can finally return to Miss Penn as she called out to her servants. She called out to the servant student to return home from the room next door. So she asked Susan to take away her or blow out the light so she could get away from Miss Penn that was heckling her. So obligingly, Susan ended the flame. Miss Diamond's light was extinguished and the room and Miss Penn fell dark. So we can now return to this intimate scene in the lady's bedchamber. Given the wealth of the diamond's owner, we might imagine a well-appointed chamber for the servant Susan to clean. Each of these objects had elements, added elements to make them shine, shimmer, or sparkle. So their added elements are their ways to create materials that shone or reflected. We can begin with things like perhaps her dressing table, which would probably made of mahogany, or other fine woods that are lustrous and reflected well. And I'm using this example from John Singleton Copley just to show that idea. A generous mirror might have hung over the lady so she could view her face, earrings, and perhaps her bejeweled neck. Perhaps her dressing table was strewn with glass scent bottles, glass objects that seemed enticing, global, yet intimate. And I want to make sure you look well at this magnificent photograph that's in the book, and to see this enticing, beautiful, astonishing bit of glass for a dressing table. We might want to think about, again, a blue silk dress, like Alice Hooper may have lay on the bed, and even when shot through with metallic fibers. And this is seen here in a textile from the Winter collection. You'll see in a minute that these are kind of things that I've used for my teaching. Perhaps you see shoes in bright silk with gold thread, as seen here at the Victoria and Albert Museum. Or a shoe buckle of shining gold, silver, and brass, or glass, the sparkling paste seen here from the Metropolitan Museum. And again, if you think about, there's actually a cartoon that has a man putting his foot forward with this buckle just shining in exaggerated form. I've talked about cut surfaces and attendant flickers and sparkle and the power of the glass creator, but one important material effect of light remains. I did an exhibition with my students in 2003 titled Reflections, Early American Furniture, Portraits and Silver. The many meanings of the word reflection, I think, capture some of these concepts. People engage in reflection when they contemplate an idea or remember something or someone from the past. Objects literally create reflection through their physical interaction with light. Objects, whether shiny or not, are a reflection of the status and taste of its owners. A final definition of reflection and that would be number 8C, is the philosophical, comes with philosophical questions about how the human mind senses and perceives objects. So some philosophical questions about consciousness in the human brain and how it can be played out. It's played out in literature in small stories of talking things. What if they could talk? What would they say? What do we think about? How does it make us rethink humans and their relationships to things? Anyway, let's talk soon. Thank you.